So today I'm gonna change the lower ball joint on this van here that's got play. So to do that, you gotta loosen the axle nut here. Push the CV shaft, make sure it's loose. And you should take the upper and lower caliper, bolt out, hang the caliper out of the way. Just hook it on there, and then you gotta loosen that nut here. That's an 18 mil, and then once you have it loose, put some vice grips around there, put a bar across, and have someone pry down and then smack with a hammer, and that vibrates it loose usually. Or you can use a pickle fork and go this way too. Whatever you have laying around. If you want to save the ball joint, don't use a pickle fork, but if you're changing it, then you can just use a pickle fork. Okay, so this here is a 32 millimeter socket nut. You do not want to use an impact for that if you are not changing the bearing, because that'll rattle balls and it can prematurely wear it out. And then I just throw a punch in here into the ribs in between the rotor, and that way it won't turn on you when you're trying to break it loose. And then you got a breaker bar on there, and it's kind of hard with one hand. There you go. It's nice and loose, and then I just get it. Once I get it loose, I'll just use a rat. Yeah. I'm just gonna put it down, but you do that all the way until it's off. Okay, once you have this nut off here, you gotta make sure the shaft is free, which this one's pretty stuck. So then you just take a punch. I can't do this with 2 hands, and just take a punch and a hammer, and just smack it until the shaft starts moving. If they're super seized, well, I don't know. Hope it's not seized for you. But yeah, just make sure it's free, because once you gotta make it free before you loosen the ball joint. See, now it just moves, so now it's loose. Yeah, you just put a punch there and smack it. Next, I'll take the upper caliper bolt off and the lower one. They're 13 millimeters, unless the caliper's been changed and it's aftermarket, it might be 14. I guess they're loosening it. And then you just put a pry bar in here, or a screwdriver, whatever you got laying around. Pull it off, and just hook it up onto the bungee, just like that. Just let it hang here. That way it doesn't hang on the hose here and wreck that. All right, the next, we got to loosen the lower ball joint nut there. So that's an 18 millimeter. Again, it's pretty hard to do with one hand, but I just try to break that one loose. Once it turns, it's broken loose, I take a gear wrench just to make it a little quicker. All right, so once you got that nut off, it's the best to get this off. The easiest is definitely take a pickle fork, put it in there, and just smack it on the back with a hammer until it pries it apart. The other way you can do it, is you put a vice grip around here, a C-clamp vice grip, and you put a pry bar from here all the way here. You have someone prying on it downwards, and then you take a sledgehammer and smack on here, and that will loosen the vibrations, will loosen that off. Whatever works and whatever tools you have laying around. Yeah, so then once you hammer that in, the ball joint's loose. And you just pull that out and pull the shaft, pull it all apart. Yeah. And once you kind of pulled it all apart, I just like to take the shaft here and just tie it up here with another bungee strap, just like just like this. So that way it's just out of the way, so when you press out this ball joint here. And then to remove the ball joint, it's nice to get one of these ball joint press kits. I think you probably rent one from like a auto parts store, most likely, or maybe even ask a local mechanic shop if you could borrow it. They might not like it too much, but you can always ask. Yeah, so to press it out, I just got this bigger cup where the ball joint slides in, and then this one here, just gonna push on the inside of the ball joint to push it downwards, and then I just have the impact on there. You don't need an impact, you can use a ratchet, but it makes it a lot easier if you do have an impact available. So yeah, so then just rattle it away. Yeah, that easy. Okay, so to press it in the ball joint, you want to press on here. So this thing here sits nicely on that surface, and that's going to get pushed up from the top. And then I'm just going to use this end of it, put on top of the control arm, and the ball joint just slides in here, so you're not going to stop it or pinch it or anything. So I'll just set it up and show you what it looks on the vehicle. See on here now, it's set up so this is pushing on this ring here, and then this is stopped by that, and then right here you can get pushed right through the hole there. You also want to make sure this grease part of the boot there, the hole there, it's supposed to be facing away from the rotor, so towards the inside of the vehicle. That's just for grease to escape if it gets overfilled. The same thing, then you just use the impact again. You can use a ratchet and just and yeah, you just go until it's all the way together right there. There's no more gap anywhere. And you take it off. Okay, so then we're gonna get to putting it together. So what you wanna do is clean out this taper here. I just usually run a rag through it, just to clean it all out. And then on the shaft here, before you put this back in there, I'd say the best would be put some anti-seize on there. If you don't have anti-seize, put some grease. Just put something on there so it doesn't rust. It makes life a lot easier if you ever gotta take it apart again. It's all about making life easy. Okay, so then we still gotta put the snap ring in there. Almost forgot about that. That just goes in this groove down there. Like I said, it's hard to film with one hand. Yeah, just put the snap ring in there, just so it's nicely seated in that groove. That snap ring is just there for an extra safety. If the ball joint gets loose, so it doesn't fall out, would not trust that snap ring. So if that ball joint just pushes into this control arm by hand, you gotta replace that control arm. I would not trust that, but you know, it's up to you. Again. And then you can put it back together. Put the drive shaft inside this, line it up to go inside, and the shaft's in. Slide it in. Alright, now it's sticking out, so we'll get the nut and start. Okay, so we start the new nut. Of course, they changed the size of nut that it uses, so now it's an 19 millimeter. And then you just snug this nut off until it's fairly nice and snug. And then there's a hole for the cotter pin to line up, so you still cover it up, so it's gonna go further. Almost there. It's hard to tell, but see, there's the hole now, so now it lines up. If that pin does not go in there, you don't loosen off the nut, you just tighten it a little bit more. Once you loosen it off, you gotta pop it out of there again. There you go. Okay, and then you take this pin or pin here and push it right into the hole there. And these are nice, they're just locked in and can't slide out anymore. If, when you're tightening the nut, this stud is turning, you can just take a jack and jack up on here on the control arm, putting pressure upwards, and I'll jam the stud in from spinning while you're tightening it up. Okay, and then got this crease nipple here, and that screws into here. Sometimes 10 or 3/8. Just tighten that up. You can try to make it face this way so that it's easier to grease with the wheel on. And take a grease gun and pump some grease into this thing. I don't know, 2-3 pumps, I guess. And wipe off the excess grease. Keep everything clean. I don't like a greasy mess. Okay, and then when you put grease in there, you just until the boot starts moving, you don't want to make it super tight, full of grease, because then the boot will pop and water gets in, and then you're starting from scratch again. It'll just prematurely wear out the ball joint. No need for that. All right, once that's done, we can put the brakes back on. Yeah, just snug up these bolts good and tight. There we go, good and tight. Nope, good and tight. We want to put this axle nut back on. Okay, so same thing for putting the axle nut on. Just put a punch in here. I actually got a new axle nut because my axle nut was, the threads were just buggered up like crazy. Grab that all the way on. Once you have it threaded all the way on, you want to torque it to 118 foot-pounds. There you go. Perfect. All right, and then you take all your tools off. Double check everything, make sure tools bolts are tight, make sure ball joint, everything looks good there. And then put your wheel back on, and that's it.